Welcome to the Four Rooms podcast, where we explore the four rooms of entrepreneurship: health, wealth, scale, and relationships. Each episode is dedicated to opening new doors and uncovering insights that empower you to design your entrepreneurial journey to be both lucrative and fulfilling. And now, your hosts, Amber Spears and Brett Kaufman.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Four Rooms podcast. I am the co-host, Brett Kaufman, and I'm here with the amazing and incredible Jhana Li. Jhana, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm actually so excited to have you back. This is our second in-depth conversation, and you already spoke on stage for us at our LA intensive and rocked it. People were raving about that. And I actually want to dive into the topic you were speaking about on stage, because I know so many people in our audience that need help with scaling are missing this one vital key piece that you are an expert in.
Yes, I'm excited to dive into it.
Cool. So first off, Jhana is the founder of Spyglass Ops. Before we even get into what we're talking about, can you give us some background? How'd you come up with the name Spyglass Ops?
Yeah, so my background is as a COO for multiple different startup businesses. That's really where I got into and learned operations. And after, working with many dozens, almost hundreds of businesses on their ops, I made the decision to start my own company. That was 3.5 years ago. Had no idea what to call it, had no idea what to brand it. I think I was just like Jhana Li Consulting for a long time, right? And when it came time to, launch a product and really build a company, I sat down with my second in command and I was like, listen, Natalie, I just want something nautical themed and I want something recognizable, a recognizable symbol. And I've always just been a huge pirate nerd. And so we just were talking about different like nautical symbology about things that help you navigate, things that help you get to where you're trying to go. And we landed on Spyglass.
I love that. It's Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Isn't that one of your?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Like deep down, I just want to be a pirate roaming the open seas and pillaging.
You can be. We can.
Thank you. Yes. Right after Orlando, like I'll come, I'll speak, and then we can go take to the high seas together.
I mean, Universal's right there. Like we got
right. It's true. That's true, actually.
Actually, isn't Pirates Disney?
Right. It is Disney. Yep. Exactly. We could just go there. I could live my lifelong dream.
Perfect. I'm amazed.
Love it.
On stage in LA,
yes,
you spoke about OKRs, and my mind was blown. I took so many notes around this. I remember so many people afterwards. It was like one of the most talked about things when people were talking about takeaways. I want you to start there. Like, what is an OKR? How'd you come up with this, and how should a business even implement it?
Yeah. So first things first, I did not come up with it. So giving credit where credit's due, it actually came out of Silicon Valley and it really became famous because this is the same methodology that is used by Intel, where it was originally developed. By now, Google uses it. The, Bono's Foundation uses it, right? Like these huge organizations use it. And all it is, OKRs stands for Objective Key Result. That's what it stands for. And it's just a way of helping everyone in a business row in the same direction, right? Which I think many entrepreneurs can relate to this feeling of like, I have a vision for my company. I have an idea of where we want to take it. I have new ideas that I want to see launched. But the bigger my company grows, the slower it feels like we can execute. It feels like we're losing that agility and we're losing that speed that used to make our startup so fun and used to make my life so fun. And so OKRs are a way of regaining that speed and that agility by making sure that everybody in the business is now rowing in the same direction. And the CEO doesn't feel like they're the only person out in front setting the vision and then having to drag everybody alongside behind them. So OKRs it's really just like a management framework so that you can help communicate what your vision for the business is. And then you can cascade that down across every single level of your business to every single person in your business so that they understand the vision. And more importantly, they understand how they contribute to that vision and what their individual priority, their individual objective needs to be in order to get the company towards where you want it to go.
So to break that down a little bit more for someone that's like, I'm usually more of a visual person. How can I see it in my mind? Is there one person has a task and then is it like I'm reporting up to someone and I'm in charge of this specific thing and then that person who's ahead of me is in charge of that specific thing and kind of builds up? Can you walk us through what that actually looks like?
Yeah, totally. So I see it as kind of cascading outwards, like a kind of spider web. So we start in the center, right? The center of the spider web is the company-wide objective. And you, the founder, own that objective. That is what you decide to be the priority for the business. If we're just starting out, I recommend we do this in 90-day sprints, right? So at the start of every quarter, you're sitting down with your leadership team and you're asking, okay, what is the single number one highest objective that I can set for this business that is going to move us towards our goals? So that sits at the very center of the spider web. Around that one objective, every objective gets between 3 to 5 key results, right? OKR. Objective, key result. So the key results are the 3 to 5 deliverables such that if they were met, the objective would be guaranteed. That's a really important part. If these 3 to 5 things get done, these are targets that are hit or projects that gets launched or key hires that are made or whatever. If these 3 to 5 things happen, we are guaranteed to meet our objective. With me so far, Brett? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've got our objective in the center. We've got our 3 to 5 key results all around it, kind of spider webbing out like a mind map. And then this is where it's going to be hard, but stay with me visually here. Every single key result becomes its own objective. So the sales key result, let's say that your sales team needs to 2x the number of new clients closed in the next 90 days. Okay. So that's their key result. That becomes their objective. Your head of sales takes that key result, makes it their own. That's their objective. They turn around to their team and now they say, all right, sales team, what are the 3 to 5 key results that need to be met so that we can double our new client volume in the next 90 days, right? 3 to 5 key results off of that objective. And then each of those key results becomes somebody else's objective. So it becomes this kind of mind map, spider web, outward spiral, starting at the center, cascading outwards as you kind of flow down the org chart. And what you end up with is that when done correctly, every single person at the organization, whether you've got 3 people or 30,000 people, ends up with one objective that is entirely their own, and 3 to 5 key results that are entirely their own. And because it is built off of the center, what you as a founder can guarantee is that if every single person across the entire organization achieves their objective, hits their 3 to 5 key results, and everyone does that, then your objective, the company-wide objective, is guaranteed. Because it's built that way, right? It's built to guarantee itself. And so what you can trust, what this unlocks for you is that you can trust that if I give everyone on my team just one thing to do in the next 90 days, one objective to meet, then the company-wide objective is met. And that guarantees that everybody is rowing in the same direction.
Okay, I love that. And let's look at where potential breakpoints could be. So where could this fail if not implemented correctly?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that are challenging. Number one, in a startup environment, because everybody is wearing multiple hats, we have a tendency to bite off more than we can chew, forgetting that we're wearing multiple hats in the business. Therefore, we may end up with multiple objectives, right? So if there was one person responsible for being the CEO and a different person, you had a head of marketing and you had a head of sales, you could set really, really big, ambitious marketing and sales goals because you have one person's full-time attention on it. But if you are both the CEO, the head of marketing, and the head of sales, then it has to be an objective that you can achieve with 30% of your time. So we have to set the goals according to our bandwidth and what's actually going to be viable in a 90-day window of time, right? And recognize that in a startup environment, you might find yourself represented across the OKR diagram multiple times if you're wearing multiple hats in the business. So that's a common breakpoint. The next big breakpoint, Brett, I would say is like the OKR framework is easy enough to understand once you see it broken down. It's easy enough to build your first round when you're walked through it. And then inevitably it falls flat because the breakpoint isn't in actually building it. It's in maintaining it through an entire 90-day sprint, right? To remind people that yes, the day-to-day is crazy. Yes, this big client fire just erupted. Yes, all of this like working in the business day-to-day stuff still needs to happen, but the 90-day priority is still the 90-day priority. And any and all moments that you have to work on the business need to be focused towards that, right? So the things that get in the way of OKRs are things like shiny object syndrome, where halfway through the quarter, founder goes away to a mastermind, comes home with 10 new ideas and 10 new priorities, and now the OKRs are totally out the window. Or we set the OKRs once, but then we never looked at them or never talked about them again. And now 90 days later, we haven't hit anything close to them, right? So the hardest part is actually creating a system to create continuity.
So a question on that, because that just popped up. Let's say the founder goes to a mastermind, but has such a brilliant idea upon returning. How do you know to keep your OKRs or to change it?
Sure. That's a great question. So OKRs are adaptable, right? They are revisable. They don't have to be set in stone. That being said, part of the power of OKRs is that they kind of force focus, right? Focus doesn't necessarily come naturally to most really high visionary entrepreneurs. And so what you have to be able to justify to yourself and to your entire team is that this new idea that you're so excited about is actually going to move the needle on the business more, further, and faster than the OKR that you guys spent hours painstakingly creating, right? So it just raises the bar. That better be a damn good idea if it's going to replace what we've already determined and agreed to and put 90 days of effort towards and behind, right? So it just makes it harder, which doesn't mean that it can't happen. It's actually more healthy that it just means that it's not quite so easy for a visionary to just whiplash the company left and right, because now there's this kind of accountability structure that flows downwards, but also flows upwards.
Now, would the 90-day clock restart, or are you just going quarter by quarter?
Yeah, you go quarter by quarter. Each new quarter, you're able to set a new OKR. And every 90 days, that means you get to have the discussion again. What is the single highest priority? So to your point, Brett, maybe this is an incredible freaking idea, but is anything really disastrous going to happen if we don't execute it for 90 days? Probably not. And maybe that can become the objective for next quarter, right? So it shifts the answer from being no, we can't do that. No, we're not going to do that, to not yet. That's a brilliant idea, visionary, but we're not going to implement it yet, right? And that kind of helps everyone row in the same direction.
So for our COOs that are listening, and they just have that anxiety of my founder is incredible, but
yes, exactly.
How can do you have a framework to have those conversations with? How do you create boundaries around that to make sure we're locked in?
Yeah. So the OKRs are a great foundation. The entire team, not just the COO, but the entire team has this buffer so that if somebody, the CEO, their manager, whoever comes in and says, hey, new priority, the lowest VA on the org chart can say, but that conflicts with my OKRs, right? No, I'm actually not going to do that because this is my company-wide priority. Or yes, I can get to it, but I'm going to get to it this week after I've already moved the needle on my OKRs and moved towards that deliverable. So it actually empowers the entire team to not be, again, like whiplash, which doesn't mean inflexible. It just means that they have the ability to advocate and make sure that they're doing their most important work for the business. That's especially important for a COO whose job is to wrangle a high visionary CEO. So it gives you this framework to go back to and say, incredible idea. We'll do it next quarter. Incredible idea. Can you really justify to me and help me understand why that is a higher priority than the objective that we've set, or how this may help fuel the objective that we've set, right? And all you're doing as a COO is just lifting up the mirror and helping the CEO understand and see themselves and the opportunity cost that they're putting on the business if they decide to switch directions, right? It's not saying we can't do it. It's just saying, can you justify the opportunity cost that it will take to get this done?
I can imagine that's not always the most enjoyable conversation to have.
No.
The boundary setting skills behind that is what's super helpful. So the next thing that popped into my head around that is, let's say you have a startup and multiple hats, and the person's like, I'll wear the COO hat at the same time as something else. How can someone that's not sure if they're COO know if that's actually the right role for them?
Yeah. So let's talk about the tension there a little bit. I had a mentor, Layla Hermosi, who told me that a really strong visionary operator pair are like the gas pedal and the brake pedal of a car. You need both to drive the car safely. If it's all visionary, it's all gas, that car is going 1,000 miles an hour all up until the moment that the wheels come off and it totally combusts in catastrophic failure. If it's all brake pedal, the car doesn't move forward, right? So we need both, but there's inherent tension between the two. And so, yes, it's a hard conversation for a COO to have always. And it's made a lot easier when the CEO knows that it's their job. It's actually their job. It's actually their highest value contribution to slow the business down just enough that the wheels don't come off. And so a CEO who says, I hate you right now, but I respect you because I know that you're doing your job, and I appreciate you because I know that you're keeping this business safe. That's a much easier container in which to say, no, not yet. If your CEO only perceives any slowdown, any pushback as getting in the way of me and my gas pedal energy, then that's a very hard environment to be a successful COO in. So that's part of it, is like, do you have the foundation in the relationship that's going to set those future high tension conversations up for success? And if not, you have to build that first. And then as it relates to your other question of like, how does somebody know whether they're the right COO for their business or not? Most operators that I know, Brett, all see the business this way. They see it through the lens of what's going to break. Why won't that work? What are the very real opportunity costs? What's all the time and energy and bandwidth that we're going to have to devote to that to make it happen, right? They're realists, and they see things through the lens of gaps and inefficiencies and where things could be better. If that's your natural lens, you might be a great operator, even if you're not in that role right now. And if you're calling yourself COO, but what you really love is driving marketing, then you may call yourself whatever you want, but you might not actually be functionally filling that gas, that brake pedal energy for your company. And it's important that somebody does.
So if that person heard that, now going through that exercise, like, you know what, I'm probably not the COO, but know that they need to find a COO. How do they even go about finding one?
Yeah. So that's a really tough one. And it's so tough, in fact, that we've built an entire service offering around that, right? Like, we recruit operators. And the reason it's so hard, Brett, is because you're asking a yin to identify a yang, right? You're asking somebody to somehow go out and identify everything that they are not, but that works perfectly in complement to them. And that's hard for anybody, right? Because you're literally looking for your mirror opposite. So when we see most people come to us and they say, I tried hiring an operator, they just didn't work out, they really disappointed me. It's either because they're hiring somebody who didn't have the skills to actually do the job, or more often they're hiring like a mini me, right? They're hiring a clone. Because for all of us, our bias says, I was running the day-to-day of this business. I want to step out of the day-to-day of the business. Therefore, I need to go find a second in command who's going to run the day-to-day exactly like I did, right? Our default says, I need a mini me who will replace me, and then I don't have to do it. But then you just get a mini you. Then you just get somebody else who's going to become the bottleneck, somebody else who's going to whiplash the team, somebody else who's going to be even more gas pedal energy and drive the car off a cliff, right? What you're looking for is your complement, and that's really hard to find. And so that's where we come in, because we're experts in finding those people, and we're able to look at somebody's yin and then go out and identify their yang.
So how walk us through the process? How are you able to do that?
Yeah. So we start every recruitment with what we call the ops inspection, and it's a company-wide audit. My personally trained team will spend a week inside of our client's business, getting to know the CEO founder, getting to know the team, the culture, getting a really clear understanding of exactly what operational bottlenecks this future operator needs to be capable of busting through and clearing. And the result of the ops inspection is a 12-month roadmap. So we literally break down step by step. Here's the exact bottlenecks that are slowing you down and preventing you from being where you want to be. Here's the exact step-by-step order in which you need to clear them. And here is the exact operator profile. And I should say, the most cost-effective operator profile who will be capable of clearing these bottlenecks and getting you to your goals. So we tell the clients who they need, not the other way around. And then we get their alignment. Is this who you're looking for? Anything else we should know? Great. That's the operator we're looking for. And then we go out and we build a whole hiring funnel. We look at our talent pipeline and we source those candidates for them, generally in 60 days or less.
And so when you identify there is a need for a COO, how are you looking to personality matching? Okay, this person has a skill set, but how do you know this person's going to connect with me? Because I'm assuming we're going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, totally. Again, we've just spent a week with that CEO founder. We've personally interviewed all the people on their leadership team around them and asked them what's incredible about working with this person, what's hard about working with this person, who are the people who will be successful in this environment, right? So we've got a totally custom look at who is not just the right resume, not just the right skills that will be successful for this business, but who's the right person who's going to be successful within this culture and within this container. So we're filtering for all of that when we do our hiring process. And then we're sending those final candidates, generally between 3 to 5 final candidates, to the client. And their job is literally nothing more, nothing less than a vibe check, right? We're sending you 3 to 5 people, all of which we know have the skills to do the job. They've got the experience, they've got the resume, they can do it. Question is, who do you like working with the most? And the CEO becomes the final decision maker on that.
Okay. That actually makes sense. I like
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot now to what you're going to be talking about. At the time of this recording, we're a few days away from our annual event in Orlando with 175 incredible 7 to 10 figure founders. And you are going to be one of our experts breaking it down. But for those that are not going to be in Orlando, I would love for them still to get a taste of what you're going to I'd love for them to get a taste of what you have been talking about.
I'm just kidding, guys. But you are like, the FOMO is real, right? Yeah, I'm excited for this. So you guys do this incredible job where you send out these really, really robust intake forms and everybody talks about what are they struggling with the most. And a big theme that came out of those forms was team. How do I scale a team quickly? How do I grow a team quickly? I'm putting leaders and managers in place for the first time, and that's working out just okay, right? All of this stuff around how do I successfully grow and scale a team so that I, as a founder, can continuously start stepping out of the day-to-day weeds, and I can stop being a bottleneck. And I can attest, Brett, with the hundreds of clients that we've worked with at this point, probably 80% of them, team performance, team buy-in, team proactivity. Do I have the right A players? Do I have the right people in the right seats? These are the questions that come up again and again and again. These are the frustrations that stall founders out and burn them out, right? That feeling of like, man, my team just can't figure it out. I wish they could just think for themselves. I wish they could start being more proactive and innovative. Why do I always have to come up with all the ideas? I wish my team would just run alongside me as opposed to feeling like I'm dragging them along behind me. Or I don't know if I have, I love my team, but I don't know if they have what it takes to get me to where I'm trying to go, right? These are the things that keep founders up at night. And so the talk that I've crafted for you guys is going to help founders resolve all of that. It helps with team underperformance. It helps them understand who to hire and who to fire and when. It helps them understand why their current team may not be working out or what people need to be shifted into other roles. It's this exercise that I created to help startup founders do exactly this, which is how do we build a team that's agile, because everything's changing all the time because we live in startup land, but still offers what's called role clarity, right? Clear definition of role and clear definition of success in that role for every single person on the team, so that you can unlock your team's best performance and everyone can start running alongside you because they know exactly what role they play on the field.
Wow. Okay. So then it gets me to the point of, all right, I recognize I have a few people that are not going to be a good fit. One, Are you going to walk me through how to gently get rid of them and find some? Because otherwise you just put these massive funnels in my business.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it, but I am happy to throw in my last 30-day SOP as part of my free kind of gift that I'll be giving to everybody at the end of this, because you're totally right. What happens when you run this exercise? You realize some people are in the wrong roles. Totally fine. You're going to be swapping people, different tasks, different roles. We're going to play a game of musical hats. That's fine. We're going to realize that some roles actually aren't filled by anybody sufficiently. We need to go out, we need to hire. We're missing this particular piece of expertise, or there's a gap over here. We'll become clear that we're actually going to be able to map out your entire hiring timeline and who you need to bring in and when. And you're going to arrive at, man, this person was amazing when they started. They were such a Swiss Army knife generalist. They really got us to where we're going. But I look at my team now and I look at where my business is going, and there is not a place for them. What's the conversation to have? And there's actually a way of having a really beautiful and graceful conversation so that people will self-select themselves off of the bus.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. All right.
See that you have to be part therapist in what you do as well.
I mean, Brett, we have helped people fire their siblings. We've helped them demote their wives, right? When we're talking about what's best for your business is you have the right people in the right seats doing the right work every day. And there are uncomfortable conversations that need to happen to take your team from where it is today to that desired outcome state. Because what happens when we're young and we don't know any better and we're building a team for the very first time? We're hiring our siblings. We're hiring our romantic partners. We're hiring the first people that we know who are generally organized, get shit done people, right? And then at some point your business grows up and you realize, wow, I really need an expert in this role. And I love my wife, but she isn't an expert in this role. So how do we have that conversation? The reality is, and I genuinely believe this, when you approach that conversation through the lens of what best serves the business is what best serves every person within the business. I genuinely believe that to my core. If somebody is not set up for success in their role, if somebody is no longer a fit for what the company needs, they will fail and they will hate failing and they will be frustrated by failing, and it will not serve them to be in a role where they're set up to fail. And so the question then becomes, is there a different role where you won't be set up for failure, even if that role exists within another business? And it is a genuine act of service to let a person go find a role where they are set up for success.
Wow. So what I like about what you offer is you help people at different stages. The first offer, what you were talking about at the beginning, was like someone saying, hey, I know I need a COO, but then you come and do the audit. Let's say someone went through this exercise and was like, I have this hole. Like, are you still going to run them through the first program you talked about? Or are you just going to like, hey, I know someone, I can immediately plug them into? Like, how do you serve that second person that just went through the exercise?
Yeah. So the audit will essentially reveal where the gaps and the holes within the org chart are. We're going to be able to reflect that back to the CEO and essentially say, hey, you got a choice here, right? Here's some people who may be able to be trained up to fill the role, or alternatively, they're awesome, but your growth goals are so big and so fast that nobody is ever going to be able to learn this and catch up to the rate of growth. You need it to go out and hire what I call a batteries included expert, right? You need somebody who can come in and do the job from day one because they've done it somewhere else and they can bring that knowledge into the business. So we'll actually give them our recommendations on who to hire for what roles, who to fire for what roles, and on what timeline. And then we plug in that right second in command. That's where our done for you recruitment comes in. And our ongoing process is to then work with that second in command to implement all the rest of the changes that we have identified in that roadmap, right? So we're creating a 12-month operational roadmap, but 90% of it is not the CEO's job. They need to be aware of it. They need to know it's a problem. They need to know why it's important to fix the problem, but they do not need to solve it. It's their operator's job. So we will work with that COO, and I have a training program called COO Academy where we will coach and train a COO if they have any skill or knowledge gaps that would prevent them from doing the job. We'll support them every single week with live coaching and live consulting. We'll give them access to all the tools and templates in our library so they can get the job done faster, right? Like we're working through that second in command and they're turning around and making all of this happen within the business.
So then on the opposite side, if I am a COO and let's say I want a new role or like, can I join your program, be coached up, and then go through placement?
We do have COOs who come to us wanting to self-invest in that way. Yes, that is an option. I wouldn't say it's primarily who we serve. We generally serve CEOs just because that's where our price points are. But we do have some scholarships available for self-funded COOs.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for those again that are not going to be in Orlando, get to experience your amazingness and what you're teaching, I would love for them to know like where to find you. And if you have any goodies, like you started to talk about that, someone listening, if they're interested, can be like, ooh, I want.
Yeah, totally. The best way to connect with me, guys, is on Instagram at the Jhana Li. And I'm sure we can add that in the show notes. And reach out, DM me. If there's any tools that I talked about today that you want access to, just let me know. Like, hey, I want your firing SOP. Cool. Happy to send that over to you. Just shoot me a DM and so I can get you the right tool. And if there is any questions or interest that you have in working with us and what it is we do, we can talk about that as well.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. I loved our second convo. I'm so excited to see you in a few days. And
yes,
as always,
Brett, this is going to be so fun. I will see you soon. Can't wait.
Amazing. Thank you.
As we wrap up today's episode, we have something special just for you. If you've been inspired by what we've explored today and you're ready to take your learning to the next level, then our 4 Rooms Mastermind live event is the perfect next step. And because you're a part of our podcast family, we're offering an exclusive 10% discount on your registration when you apply and are accepted. This is your chance. It's your chance to build relationships with other ambitious entrepreneurs like yourself, to dive deeper into the 4 rooms of entrepreneurship, and to connect with experts who can truly help accelerate your growth. Simply follow the event link in the description of this episode and use the promo code 4rooms10. That's FOURROOMS10 on your application to claim this opportunity. This offer is subject to application approval and it's limited, so don't wait too long to make your decision. Join us and transform your journey with the insights and networking that only our live events can offer. Thank you for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you at the event and of course, right back here next time on the 4 Rooms podcast. Until then, keep balancing and keep growing.